scholars, welcome to English grammar class. In today's class, we are going to study about what is an active and passive voice. We are going to study about what is an active voice, what is a passive voice. How does active and passive voice differ? What is the difference between an active and passive voice? And the structure of active and passive voice. So begin with, what is a voice? Voice means the way we express our actions. Voice is a connection between a subject and an object linked through a verb. So voice, dear children, voice is a connection between a subject and an object that is linked through a verb. For instance, Raman washes his car. So, who is the subject here? Raman. And what is an object? Car. And it is linked through a verb, washes. Raman washes his car. So, subject, verb and an object. So, voice is a connection between a subject, object linked through a verb. Now, children, let us see. I am going to explain you through a tabular form that what is the difference between an active and a passive voice. So here you can just see a table. The action can be performed in two ways. Active voice and passive voice. So now here you can see I had given an example. In active voice, Sheena cleans the floor. Jim reads the book. The subjects in the above sentences are Sheena and Jim. The subjects are Sheena and Jim. The subject is doing the action and is a doer. Children, remember, the subjects are doing the actions and they are doers. The subject is active. Now, similarly, in passive voice, let us take the same example. When we change it to the passive, it becomes the floor is cleaned by Sheena. The book is read by Jim. So, what do you see here, dear children? The subjects in the above sentences are the floor and the book. What are the subjects in the above given sentences? The floor and the book. The subject is receiving the action and is a receiver. The subjects are receiving. The floor is receiving the action of cleaning by Sheena. The book is receiving the action of reading by Jim. So the subject is passive. So what is the major difference between active voice and passive voice? Active voice, the subjects are doing the actions. They are the doers. My sister washes the dishes. My sister is doing the action. The man built a beautiful castle. The subject is doing the action. So in active voice, the subjects always do the action and they are always the doers. They are active. Whereas in passive voice, the subjects are receiving the action. The same sentence I could take. The castle was built by man. So here the castle becomes the subject and it is receiving the action. So the subjects are said to be passive in passive voice. Whereas in active voice, the subjects are doers. They are active. The passive voice, subjects are receiver. They are passive or they are dead. They are just receiving the action. Let me make you better understand with the help of a small flowchart. So, explaining with the flowchart active and passive voice. In active, what does comes? Subject, verb and object. When it comes to the passive, the object becomes the subject. The subject is being headed by the doer. The doer comes at the end, which is preceded by and the verb. The verb is changed. the verb is changed, it is added with be and plus the past participle. So what is the flowchart saying? That in active voice, subject, verb and object. Now when you come to the passive voice, that object becomes the subject, and the subject, the doer, goes at the end, and it is preceded, before the doer comes the by and the verb changes in the past participle form, and with the past participle form the be form is added. What is the be form? We did it in the last class. Be form is am, are, was, were, has, have, had. So I think I made myself clear. In active voice, subject, verb and object, whereas when we come to the passive voice, the object becomes the subject, the doer goes at the end, which is preceded by and with the be form, that is am, are, was, were, has, have, had, with the past participle of the verb. It can be better explained with the help of example. For I have taken some illustrations here with the same flowchart. For example, the first example is active. The sentence is active sentence. My sister washed the dishes. This is an active sentence. Sister has washed the dishes. Sister is doing the action. Now, when it comes to passive, what happens? Now the dishes, which was the object, becomes the subject. So dishes comes here in the passive voice. It has started receiving the action. My sister comes here as an object and it is preceded by and washed becomes washed here, which is added with the be form were, because dishes is in plural. So we say the dishes were washed by my sister. Remember always to put by here. Let us take another illustration also. Miners dig out coal. The active sentence, the active voice sentence. Miners are doing the action. They are the doers here. When we make it a passive, the coal becomes the subject. Miners become the doer. They become the object, which is preceded by and dig is added with the be form. Coal is dug out by miners. So here we see that active is having subject, verb, object, but when it comes to the passive, the structure, what happens? The object becomes the subject. The subject goes at the end as a doer. The doer goes at the end, which is preceded by and the verb of the sentence, it is changed with the be form. Remember children, be form is am, are, was, were, has, have, plus the past participle of the verb. The past participle can be eat changes to ate, write changes to wrote. So same way, drink changes to drank. These are the past participle of the verb, which we are going to do in the next class. So now, as for now, we should know the meaning of active voice, the meaning of passive voice, and the main thing is the structure. Now we are going to come on the structure. Kindly pay attention. Structure of active and passive voice. Now structure of active voice, we are already clear. Doer or subject plus verb plus object. Example, Neil rolled the ball. Neil is the subject, rolled is a verb, and the ball is an object. Very simple. The structure of the active voice is very simple. Subject, verb and object. It is given the illustration. The doer, verb and object. The structure of passive voice, receiver, subject. Now subject becomes the receiver becomes the subject plus verb. Verb here is be plus past participle of the form of the verb plus by plus doer. Now let us change the same sentence. Now the ball becomes the subject or the receiver. Neil becomes the doer. It becomes the object. We are adding by and rolled. Was be form. Was rolled by Neil. So we see here that it's very simple to understand. The active is the direct when we are doing the action. The passive is the action is being received by the doer. The things which are received, the objects start receiving the action. Like Burj Khalifa was made in 20th century. Burj Khalifa is receiving the action. So it is a passive voice. Fine. So I hope children I have made myself very clear what what is active, what is passive, what is the structure of active voice, what is the structure of passive voice. So please keep on seeing this thing and go on reading these things, because in the next class we are going to do how to change active to passive and passive to active, which will include the revision of your all the past tenses and the continuous tenses, the simple tenses and the continuous tenses. But for now, let us have the clear picture of what is an active voice, what is its structure, and how it is used. So in the next class, be ready for the conversions with active to passive and passive to active. Thank you, dear children. Stay safe.